thrilled today to welcome Mati, co-founder of ElevenLabs. Mati, welcome.
Eléonore, thanks so much for having me here.
Mati, so you've created ElevenLabs in 2022. You managed in such a short amount of time to make a global leader in AI voice, but not only. I think you're going to completely transform the way AI and human and machine basically interact. So I would love to perhaps start with your story, you telling us about what happened with ElevenLabs. So I read and I listened to some of your podcasts where you explain, of course, that that the idea came from when you were in Poland, listening to English movies, and where pretty much every character were dubbed with only one single voice. So I imagine that totally broke the magic of listening to these movies. So wondering what led you from there to what ElevenLabs is today.
Yeah, it's a very crazy thing that, and effectively, like you say, it's for all content and when you grow up, but also all the way until today, all of the funny content in Polish, when you watch it, you have this one single voice for male and female voices without any intonation or any emotion, delivering lines. And like the magic disappears, the originality disappears. So as soon as we realize that the technology, both with the innovation of what's happening across the AI space and the product space that may happen, this will change. In the future, that language barrier that has been there will disappear. But then as we start diving into the space, we realize that the set of how we interact with the technology as a whole is still very poor. Whether the keyboards, the screens are like effectively primary modality for us to interact and use any device, whether it's a laptop, whether it's a mobile phone. It's almost crazy that like we spend so much time on screens and keyboards. And that clicked for us that as we think about the future, the ideal interactions between the humans and technology will be different. You can interact in a seamless way. Voice will be one of the primary interface. Like we're speaking now, it makes it for such a more real and nuanced and interesting experience. And we think and believe that the same needs to happen across the technology for us to be able to really use those tools and enjoy those tools. The second, as we spoke, that the language barrier will fall. And for that to happen, you need to combine the best of research and the best of delivery mechanisms to be able to speak with others in any voice you want, any language you want, and to be able to understand each other. And then the third one is that as you think about the AI as a whole, it will be present across all types of devices. Of course, now it's laptops, it's the mobile phones, but in the future it will be robots, it will be devices around us. And we want the AI to be present there too. We want it to understand not only voice, but also other modalities, whether it's the visual, whether it's textual, and actually deliver that experience. So that's definitely changing. And as we dived into that space, realized that with what we might be able to achieve, hopefully we can solve the entirety of how that interaction, how that creation will look like with technology.
This is incredibly exciting, exciting. And so obviously yesterday you made some incredible announcements. We had your summit here on the 11th of November, 11/11. So maybe do you want to tell us a little bit about that? Because I think everything you announced is quite groundbreaking in the world of voice and machine interaction with human.
Yeah, so we are so special day for us, as you said, 11/11, which of course is a nice nod, but we started the company in 2022. Actually, on 11th of November that year, we released our first beta launch to a set of closed customers. So it's exactly 3 years from then that we created and hosted the first, for us, ElevenLabs Summit, where we hosted 500 people across the enterprises that we work with in one place. And it also, for me, it was like an interesting reflection of how it all evolved. With my best friend, with my co-founder of 15 years, my co-founder Piotr, we started ElevenLabs that year, and we started with effectively a text-to-speech model, a model that was able to understand the text in a much better way and bring the emotion intonation into audio. And we deployed that through an API and through a simple user interface. So that was our initial starting point. And fast forward to today, in a lot of our announcements, as we think about the future, on one side, as we hope to solve how people create with technology, we now have an all-in-one creative platform, which allows you to get the best, of course, audio, how you create a speech, how you control speech, but also music, fully licensed model, which allows you to create tracks that you want, and then combine them with other modalities, whether that's image and video, of bringing those assets in place to truly create an end-to-end experience. So as you think about future of creating advertisements, creating stories, creating educational materials, now all of that is available in that one platform instead of across different tools. And then on the other side, we are continually investing, and something that we've been doing over the last 2 years is elevating how people can create conversational agents. That's one of the quickest shifts that's happening in the industry, where people are elevating the customer support, customer experience with their end customers, where those agents can effectively do such more seamless experience for the end user. But to be able to deploy an agent in that space, or personal agents or education space, you need not only the stack of the audio to be able to have the orchestration and mechanisms, you also need all the integrations to ground the agent with the real knowledge. You need the functions to keep it on rails to make sure it behaves in the way you want it, to understand when to hand over from AI to the human. And then the third bucket, which is one of the most important, is how you deploy it. So how you actually test it before you bring it to production, version control it, and then monitor and evaluate how it builds. So we announced a lot of the additions in that space, whether it's the version controlling, whether it's additional testing mechanisms across agents platform. And then third, of course, still as a company, so beyond now having a wide application suite with the creative platform and agents platform, we still continue on that research journey to push the audio frontier. And that's really our superpower, where we combine the best of product but with the research across the company. And yesterday we announced the launch of our new speech-to-text model, so the flip side of generating audio, where now it can transcribe in real time. It's beating all the other models on benchmarks, so it's the best model in the world, one of the lowest latency ones, and not only better on the usual languages, we actually extend it and we can support 100 languages, which is roughly 70 more than most of the other common models, which has been a proud moment. So to summarize, as you think about the future, you really will need a lot of those different work streams to work together. On our case, it's working on the creative side to solve the creation side and make it seamless. Agents platform side, which is solving the interaction side and making it seamless, and then ground it in the research side.
This is fascinating. You innovating at the speed of light. This is pretty incredible. So actually, to elaborate on that, obviously you've become synonymous with natural, emotionally intelligent AI voices. What has been the hardest part, according to you, of making this conversation with with machines, feel more human, actually?
Yeah, there's so many different components that make the voice special. There's the intonation, the emotions, even the imperfections are part of it. And now, as you think through the history, the first problem that was tricky was, how do you understand the context in a much better way? Same way that ElevenLabs understand and can predict the next token, next word. How do you bring that to audio, where you have the emotional pattern maintained and can understand that context in that new way? Similar way like a voice actor would. If you have a script, you kind of get this is a sentence that should be pronounced in a happy way, or this is a dialogue sequence, and in the dialogue sequence I need to act those characters differently. So we brought that into the space where you could finally understand that in a new way. Then the second piece was how you encode and decode voices. In the traditional space, in the traditional mechanisms, what people would do is you would try to predict different characteristics of the voice, so male or female, or what's the age of the voice, or what's the style, and you have those hard-coded features or like labels that you're trying to determine, and then encode and decode it on the other side. Now, that doesn't capture all the different characteristics of the voice. So what we've done is we figured out a slightly different method of not hard-coding anything, relying more on the model side to be able to figure out what are the characteristics of the voice, and then creating a better decoder than anybody in the space. When I say we, it's really my co-founder, Piotr, who I think is the smartest person I know to be able to really do that and assemble the team to be able to do that. So that was the first two. But then as you think about expanding that to, say, agents, which not only need the speech, they need the full interaction. Because as we are speaking now, there's how quick we respond, how we can interrupt each other, how we can understand the emotional part. All of that in the true interactive experience is a lot more. It's not only the voice and the speech, you need to be able to understand when to pause, understand when to start speaking. And that's where the recent 2 years were really going into. How can we build the speech-to-text models and the entire orchestration of actually making that possible? And one of the key goals now is passing the Turing test in any setting for conversations where you wouldn't be able to tell that it's not an AI agent that you're speaking with.
Awesome. So clearly you're pushing the boundaries of AI audio to the max. So I see you everywhere. I see you with celebrities. I see you obviously selling to the largest enterprise companies in the world. So many use cases for you. It's really like across the board. So what are some use cases you're most excited about?
Yeah, it's always, and it's also crazy how a lot of that iconic talent is also embracing and working with AI tools. So yesterday on the summit, apart from where there's a Jack Dorsey from Square or David Ory from Masterclass, we had will.i.am. And will.i.am was also speaking about how AI can shift how you create effectively an AI radio experiences where you can listen to the content on demand and then interrupt it and work across. So that was crazy and amazing. But I think there's two kind of categories. So as I think about the most exciting work, maybe three categories. The first one is, of course, the immediate business and commercial value that we can deliver. That's usually in elevating customer experience and shifting from like the traditional flow where you have an IVR on the other side, where it's like you need to click 5 and then 7 or whatever to get through to the agent, that you can elevate that experience where you have like a true agent on the other side that understands you can perform those actions in a much better way. But maybe take it even a step further, where it's not only a reactive thing, so I have a problem I'm calling, can it be part of the experience entirely? As we as we think about the future where, let's say you are on an e-commerce store and you want to buy your favorite item for, well, we have Christmas around the corner, for Christmas or gifts. You should be able to be on that store and have the agent speak through you, show you the items, explain what is good and bad about them, and navigate through the whole experience. And that's what we are shifting, which is that shift from just being a reactive help into being a part of the full experience part. So that's exciting because this is real. We see that with companies like Misho in India, which is their biggest e-commerce store. We see that in Immobiliare, which is the biggest real estate marketplace in Italy, where they are really adopting that at scale and going ahead. And of course, with Square now, with how they're thinking about the ordering mechanism, and that also being part of the checkout experience itself. Second category of exciting thing, and that's maybe more personally for me, is how education will change, where you could be like learning with a help of AI to also make it concrete. Recently, we worked with chess.com. I don't know if you're a chess player.
I'm not a chess player. But...
Okay, so maybe you can try to learn chess. It's great. And then you have famous voices like Magnus Carlsen, Hikaru Nakamura help you learn chess. And Masterclass, I don't know if you're using Masterclass, but Masterclass you can call. So whether you want to learn negotiation or learn how to cook, you can have Gordon Ramsay on the headphone, navigate you through that. So the education space will evolve and it's becoming real. And the third one, which is the close to heart, and when we hosted the summit, we had one of the incredible people showing how you can create the value, is how AI and technology can bring back something that's human. So we work with a lot of people that lost their voices due to ALS or cancer and are helping them regain that voice back. And of course, seeing them and seeing their reaction of just being able to connect with their family, with their close ones in a completely technological way, but bringing you back to the human and so similar to what they wanted was amazing. So yesterday when we had the person, she had a very Cockney accent and she was very excited that she was able to bring it a little bit back and speak with her voice, with an AI voice, but still her voice with the audience. And it's always like, it's like when I think about the clearest examples of how it like truly changes, it's incredible. And now we worked with 300 organizations and 3,000 different voices that people got back due to that.
Your impact will be phenomenal. It's really, really fascinating. So maybe shifting gears a little bit to your company and maybe giving some advice to a leader that are going to listen to you. Obviously, your company has been growing so fast. You've been through probably so many transitions in everything you've been doing, given the growth that you experience. How do you manage? Because you're still, everything you do, like your execution is perfect. It's so sharp. That's what I hear from everybody. So how do you manage that at scale? Like, how do you manage to keep ensuring that decisions are made the right way, that you have high quality decisions in everything you do, that you keep having that fast pace in this world of AI that obviously forces us to accelerate everything we do? We'd love you to give some advice to everyone.
I think I would love to claim a lot of the credit, but I think the truth is it goes back to the most simple of the advices, which is like, it's so much about the people that you bring in the organization. I think in our case, we took a slightly different setup, but at the end of the day, my co-founder and I have some idea of where the future is headed and what we would love to create. And I think from the beginning, we try to bring people in that are aligned in what we are trying to create in that future, so that the vision and the direction is roughly similar, and everybody is passionate and excited of making that future happen. And that was a kind of key primitive that, apart from the skills, apart from the raw intelligence, like, are people excited about the future? So that's the kind of the first piece. And then second, the way we've set it up is that we have a lot of small teams, effectively small labs, not yet 11 labs, but we'll get there as well. And each team has a very high degree of independence and execution that they can drive across. And ultimately, when we hire the best people that are within those teams or leading those teams, they have almost full degree of ownership on leading the way. And that, for us, makes it great because we can still move at such a speed. And for the people, it makes it great because they have such a high impact that it's hard to be able to do it as a traditional hierarchical company. Due to that, we also have no titles, so people can truly take any role that they want from the day zero. We have a lot of those small teams that are executing across. And that helps us in the AI space, where there's so much innovation that we know each of those teams can just adopt it very quickly, not rely on sequential event or approvals or tests on what they think is best. And we really trust the people that they are the best people we can find. They are better than us in all of those domains. So they can actually move, whether it's agents, whether it's creative, whether it's new partnerships, whether it's sales, all of that will have it. So that's the small team approach is really helping. And maybe a third one, which is something that was especially true over last year as our teams grew, that now we have almost 400 people, and where within even the non-technical teams or non-engineering teams, we still have engineering talent within those teams. Yeah. So even in the legal team or in the operations team, we have engineers that help create a better process. And for a long time, I thought, okay, this is a new approach. And I just been on, so we work with the government of Ukraine. We just visited Kiev, where we spoke with a lot of the leaders there. And it turns out that, and I was like, honestly, in awe of how they are leading on the technological innovation. And one of the structures they do at a much larger scale is similar structure, where they have their central digital transformation ministry, but then they have people deployed, Ministry of Education, Ministry of Economy, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that are also technical resources and build their technical teams and can lead that innovation. So to summarize my 3 pieces of like how I think it helped continue the innovation, continue speed, is align people with the direction, the mission, the passion that they want to drive to be able to create the best work of their lives. 2, small team setup. And then 3, making sure there's engineering talent across each of those different divisions.
I would love to elaborate maybe on point 2 and 3. So point 2, is it the same approach that a Supercell, for instance, would have for gaming?
Yes.
And how far do you go? Meaning that, is it really a team from obviously research to engineer to product to then go to market, or where do you stop? And also, perhaps, how do you think that could apply to larger companies?
It's very similar to Supercell. Part of inspiration is from Supercell, and even their name is like a combination of cells, which are small units that continue going independently. And in our case, that's the whole labs concept is similar internally of how we think about solving voice with internally voice lab, solving agents with agents lab, solving music with music lab, etc. But on the second part of how that could work on the bigger companies, I think in general, and we've seen this with some of the enterprises we work with, where they would have their traditional business going in a direction, but they would deploy a small team on the side to try innovation, to try something different, very clear, whether it's proof of concept or deployment that they want to bring back, and give them a larger freedom on experiment, test, and fail too. So that works really well, like deploying that and charting that away. And then as we think about us growing in that organization, we are hoping to keep it as few layers as possible for as long as possible. Now, the 2 things need to stay true, which are, of course, the hard things. It's like, it only works if you have the people in those small teams that you can trust and rely on. Mm-hmm. So that's what we are trying to make sure. Every next person that joins is smarter than the person, or like is elevating our bar further. So that needs to stay true. And then you kind of need to be, because now what this means is, if you are a lead of number of people, is that you have a lot of reports. So my co-founder will have 20, I'll have 20 people that are within our teams, then those people will usually have 20 in some of those parts. And it works, but only if you have that kind of trust at levels and are a little bit of okay with not always having the visibility into what everybody is doing. And sometimes I think it's an easy feeling, but then when you see it come together, it's just so inspiring and amazing.
That's awesome. And you go all the way to, like, for instance, go-to-market forces in every cell, pretty much.
Go-to-market. I mean, it's still, you know, we are still comparatively small, where we have 200 people or so on go-to-market side. So still the sharding of teams definitely happens, but it's slightly different because then we have, of course, our commercial and enterprise, our different regions. So actually regions are the first ones. We have US, we have Europe, we have, and now growing team in Asia and a growing team in South America. And then within that, we have commercial, enterprise, and then within that, we have our different ICPs that we are working with.
Awesome. And to elaborate on point number 3, so it's something that my co-founder and I are also passionate about, meaning like trying to...
You also have like engineer, okay.
We try at least, you know, to think about like how can we improve things that are not so easy to improve, like payroll, for instance. So, you know, like how can you bring a bit of like some different ways of thinking about these processes? Wondering if you have 1 or 2 concrete examples to share about things where the engineers you've deployed have made some cool progress.
I have a few. I'll give you 2 or 3. The first one, which was super cool because it uses our own product, was on go-to-market side. We have a lot of inbound. Now it's a good proportion. Of course, we are mostly spending our time on outbound, but we still need to cater to all of the inbound. And given we have both self-serve and sales with our part of business, like so many customers will contact us, and not all of them are customers that actually need enterprise contracts. So for a long time, we would use effectively the usual flow of contacting, getting the information for a form, submitting that to people that would get infilled with enriched with additional data. People would review it, or maybe would do some basic LLM classification, and then share it to the people. They would contact the right people. And now we deployed effectively a voice agent that when you are on our form page, you finish the form, you filled it in. At the end of it, you have an ability to accelerate your application by speaking with a voice agent, where you can give us more details. And what happens is that many people, now it is growing because we are giving it a lot more. I think it's now 30% of people will actually speak with the voice agent. And the qualification rate of those people is just so much better for 2 reasons. 1, they of course give us more details than what you would get through the form because it's easier. But 2, they actually feel at ease speaking with an AI agent to give that information. So we are collecting so much more intel and then are able to qualify them so much better. So that was like a nice example where we had actually engineers working with the go-to-market team to change that experience altogether. We did a very similar one on hiring front where we candidates, so it's more on improving candidate experience. Of course, are interested on like how are we set up internally, what are some of the benefits, how we are working as a remote first company, and all of that. And now we have voice agent that you can speak with. And similarly, a voice agent to prepare for the interview of what we usually are looking for, which people use, which is amazing. On a completely different non-voice specific side, huge fans of everything that can help us retrieve information in a better way. So we created effectively our entire wiki that you can query with LLMs and get information about the company. We did the same for now with a combination of being able to query Salesforce and Gong data automatically to get information, what's latest with this deal, how can I think about the next opportunity. And that was like a superpower because everybody can do it through Slack. We had like a mini piece where it started for a few people in the company and then everybody started using that, seeing those people interact with the chatbot. So I love it.
Yeah. That last example is probably the most impactful one that we have at Pigment is our growth team or engineering, the growth team that are obviously doing that for our people. So I love that.
Amazing.
Yeah, and the wiki clearness type. I like it. Cool. So one advice I would love you to give as well around the fact that obviously you live in a world where you are in this space where governance and responsible AI use are key challenges. And I think you've mastered that super well in your industry. Would love to know if you have one advice to give to other leaders about how do you define the right guardrails, the right principle for responsible AI innovation?
Yeah, I think the first note there from my perspective would be to start not only thinking, but actually doing those from the zero or from the start. Like in any deployment, whether it's an agentic deployment, whether it's creating the technology, having them from the start of the process actually makes the entire process easier. So it shouldn't be an afterthought, it should be the first thing. especially like if you think about agents being everywhere, and we spoke about some of those use cases, you really want them to stay on the right topic, stay on the rails, have some fail-safe mechanism if they don't, and that baking that in the early iteration cycles allows you to test the behavior all the way through and make sure that as you add additional functionality, it stays true. And then from our side, of course, there's a second angle, so less on the guardrails of how technology behaves, also like how we think about creating a space where we can bring industry alongside with it. So for us, what it meant specifically is, one is just building safety mechanics of like how the technology can be protected from misuse, whether that's traceability always, whether it's AI content or not, whether it's moderation of is it the right voice, is it the right LM, the text that might be a nefarious case and we can block it, or whether that's partnering with the US or UK AI security institutes to offer a lot of our data or models for them. And then the last factor is like less so on the safety itself, but more of how do you actually bring people and IP to be part of it. So for us, it was important to create we created the first effectively marketplace where people can create their voice, share their voice. And when the voice is shared, you actually earn money passively while the AI voice is being used. So now we have 10,000 voices on the platform, $11 million coincidentally, we just paid back to the entire community. And just today, actually, we launched our iconic voice marketplace. We're bringing people like Sir Michael Caine that will be available for specific projects that you can work with voice of Sir Michael Caine to be able to request him to create a new educational material with you and just deliver this incredible nuance. And we have like educators there, like Alan Turing or Richard Feynman. So it's like a really wide spread of amazing estates and people that are part of it. And that was something that we tried to do for a very long time.
I absolutely want to try that for Pigment. That's so cool.
It would be so cool.
Yeah.
We should do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It would be a really, really nice way to interact with our customers.
And imagine that how like it's like it could be a nice extension of Pigment's brand too, which I think is great.
It would be super fun. Yeah. So future of AI, obviously you started to explain how excited you are about already the present. How do you see the future of voice AI evolving from obviously the static content to dynamic conversational intelligence, and maybe even beyond that? Like, what are you the most excited about right now?
So of course, there's those immediate use cases in the classic enterprise setup, whether that's the customer experience, whether that's the sales and marketing, the internal knowledge. I think all of those will evolve. They will also like merge a little bit closer together because I think ultimately they will rely on your internal brand, your messaging, your flow of what you want to communicate as a brand. So like support and sales will like be closer than they were through the AI agent world. So I'm excited about that transition, that kind of reactive to proactive and how that kind of all brings it closer together. Very excited about education. I think like this is the main one from my perspective of how this will be just like elevating how we learn, how we have like personalized experience from the get-go that understands what we are good at, what we are bad at, and can tailor materials accordingly. I think this will be phenomenal. And then in pairing with incredible voices, incredible talent. So like one of our voices that joined our iconic voice marketplace is Richard Feynman as well. And you effectively would be able to learn physics from Richard Feynman, delivering you lecture notes or being able to ask him questions back. I think this will be phenomenal. And maybe the third one is which I think will take slightly few iterations, is the language barrier falling, where you can not only enjoy, of course, information, content in different languages, but also just like if you could travel anywhere in the world and can immerse yourself in that culture locally and understand people around you and like cannot have any barrier to doing that. Like it just feels like an ultimate flow and you feel like you're speaking with another person. Phenomenal.
Change the world.
That's going to completely change the world. I agree.
Beyond voice AI, what excites you the most in the AI world? And I'm not talking maybe science fiction in the next 10 years, but at least in the next 3-5 years. What really do you think is going to be groundbreaking in terms of innovation?
Wow, it's a big question. I feel like maybe it's a little bit of a more boring answer, but I think for a lot of the use cases we spoke about, whether it's the education, whether it's the language barrier falling, whether it's interacting with the technology around us, I think for all of them, voice will be an important pillar, but it will not be only pillar. I think to be able to learn, you will need a visual piece. And if we can help make that happen, incredible. For language barrier following, you probably also will need a combination of the visual and the models fusing from text and audio to be together, and how we can make that happen. And then, of course, on the general interface with the technology, I think voice will be such an important delivery driver. If you think about robots, like you will need the voice to be there. But then, of course, you need the vision and understanding of what's happening. You need the brain and the reasoning. So the future will be that omni-model combination and omnipresence combination, because all the devices will capture some of the signal, and in an ideal world, they are controllable to how we want them to be exactly processed and used. But how they blend together and make for that to be seamless would be amazing, where it kind of shifts from this crazy experience we have now, where those keyboards, where those screens are present, where I hope we can put them back in the pockets, be more immersed in the world around us, control it on our terms or human terms, instead of what I think is like current trope, where like we kind of optimize for what technology wanted, like typing on a keyboard, whether it's learning programming and coding with specific languages like that machines understand. It's like all of that shifting to like what we want and how we want it. I think it's going to be a phenomenal change.
And how far is that?
I hope it's on the 3 years time frame.
Oh, wow.
But then you have robots that will think it'll take decades, so then it's going to be longer, and then it's another new problem, which hopefully we'll solve too. So I'm going to be good.
Fantastic. Thank you. Now, on to quick fire questions.
Cool.
So what is the most surprising or moving use case you've seen from your community so far?
ALS, hands down. And I think specifically working with Congresswoman Jennifer Wexton. She was a congresswoman. She lost her voice, and then wanted to show and inspire others that you can continue doing incredible work. And we worked with her on bringing it back. She was the first person delivering a speech in Congress with AI, and it worked incredible, and it was both moving and inspiring for so many others.
If you could have your own personal AI agent today, what would you want it to do for you?
I would like it to, I don't know if finish my day or start my day, but give me like some interesting facts about the world, on like what, and I don't mean news.
Yeah.
I mean like, like some of the brain teasers, or like, did you know this? I would like based on what I experience or some of the things that they know I like. I really like mathematics. Like, could it give me like a teaser based on something I did in the day? And maybe with the voice of Richard Feynman as well.
Feels quite reasonable.
Yeah, it will be great.
You should be able to get that quite easily. Cool. What's a belief that you hold that most people in tech would disagree with?
That you can also learn a lot from operation. Like you of course can learn a lot from failure if you understand the specific issues what led to that failure. But you can also learn from things that are going well. Mm-hmm. It can also go the wrong way. So I understand that, of like, you can that sometimes like if it's going well, you can draw the wrong conclusions. But I think if you have like independent people around you to kind of help you navigate what they think they worked, I think you can learn from that too. So you can also double down on some of the things.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, actually.
Okay, so maybe that's another good answer.
It is a good answer. What would your younger self be most surprised to see about your life today?
Say again?
Your younger self. If you were to look at your younger self.
Oh, so many things. Yeah. I mean, it's the whole world it's both like, both Piotr and I know each other for 15 years. We started a company 4 years ago. How quickly we've been able to grow, and how we have this incredible team of just crushing it. Yeah, I mentioned that.
Never imagined that. Yeah. Most overhyped idea in AI right now?
I think the whole concept for me, where there's like, and I feel sometimes, especially when you start introducing AI to people outside of AI space, you have this idea that you can prompt a movie or prompt an agent will work perfectly. It's just so far from reality that it never almost works this way. And in many ways, I feel like it's frequently overhyped that like, okay, we'll have, immersive world created on demand or a perfect agentic experience. And the reality is that you just need so much more. You need to connect it to legacy systems. You need to have actual human in the loop tell you the story. So the whole concept of like AI doing something from scratch to perfection is, I think, overhyped.
Yeah. You see. And the most underhyped?
Voice, of course.
Of course. I'm sure you will say voice to the next one. What's the one thing AI will do soon better than we expect?
So once a voice, go inside it. What it will do better sooner than we expect. It's a good one. I think, so of course, I think there's a lot of truth of you learning on the job or learning on the mistakes. Let's take legal system as an example. If you are a young lawyer, you will be deployed on the deals to see in practice how the deals are being made so you can learn from that. And of course, the easier the task, the more of the AI impact there will be felt because AI can kind of understand and reason that. What this means is that people will have a trickier time going through that process of learning on the job. So I think, and to your question, I think AI will go and do pretty well the training back to the people to learn through those mistakes, to simulate that. We're seeing that early now with 911 calls, where we are simulating the calls of 911 for people to see whether they can respond and train them up. And it's really promising. So I think simulating humans and trying to teach them and all the way from that to potentially trickier contexts will be possible very soon.
Last two. What's the one AI innovation that will feel obvious in 5 years but barely exists today?
So I won't give you a voice because I feel like it already exists in many ways, but I think the language barrier piece is still it's still like I don't think there's like a good mechanism for that. And in 5 years' time, I think we will be traveling the world and we'll be like, oh wow, this is crazy that this was not a thing that I would need to, I don't type on keyboard how to translate this or like try to gesticulate on directions or asking for a food in a restaurant, like or like learning and hearing a story from another person. I think all of that will be, in 5 years' time, I think, done.
Love that. And the last one. So obviously for leaders in the audience, everybody wants to learn about AI. You need to read every day if you want to be understanding what's happening. So do you have one advice for them to keep learning amidst the constant wave of AI breakthrough?
It's maybe the simple one, but I'm a big believer in actually trying a lot of those things. I mean, we are happy partners with your team, and of course, I was on your platform and seeing a lot of the work firsthand. Is just so much real and like how it actually works, what's valuable, and how it can deliver value. And I think across AI tools of how you're thinking about that in your space, but also across any new innovation, like actually testing and seeing what's real, what's the demo, what's valuable, and how this can help me is great. And then if you can take it to the second level, so first is try it out, but then actually try to build something for yourself, whether it's simple script analyzing your emails and categorizing them all the way through to more complex operations. Amazing.
Love that. Mati, thank you so much. And I mean, it's so fascinating to see how much you're going to contribute to changing the world. That was such a wonderful conversation, so moving as well. Thanks again.
Thank you.
For being part of the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you.